Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we actually have super interesting war against for Loki. I ended up having a lot of interesting fights and yeah, I actually was quite excited to piece this video together just because I feel that it definitely had a good variety of fights, and you guys are obviously going to see quite many familiar faces. Like here we have Tater's Killmonger, and this is Brute Force All or Nothing Killmonger. So I do need to be obviously careful not to push him to a level 3 at any point without a level 2 ready, and that was kind of like the main goal here. Do not inflict too many debuffs, don't give him any extra power before I am able to drop my own level 2. And reverb, it is a factor, but it's not too bad with magic because you typically have that a limbo to mitigate a lot of that damage, but at the same time you do have to keep your eye out for it in case you kind of accumulate too much damage. And here we can see that as soon as we drop that first level 2, the fight is kind of under control, don't have too much to worry about. Now the reverb is again kicking in, but obviously magic with recovery mastery will let me regain some health via that limbo mechanic. Even though I'm not going to be able to heal back to full, I'm not overly worried with my health points and kind of like finishing with too little health, I would say. And yeah, here we can see that minute in the fight, everything's under control. Magic does what magic does. Power controls like no other champion in the game. And she's certainly the queen of the flow wars, I would say, because she's just answered to so many pesky matchups. Now Killmonger is not a control character, but she definitely did her job here extremely well as well. Now next fight is going to be MOJO, and MOJO is an all or nothing, and I believe it also starts on Fisticuffs node. And since it's Fisticuffs, not limited immunity, I figured I'm simply going to use Quake, because if he cannot gain buffs, he cannot also gain his power gain buffs. So basically I have nothing to worry about initially, and then later on obviously Quake's concussion also can shut down MOJO's power gain. And since this is all or nothing node, he will not drop his level 1 or level 2, so basically I'm only in danger at a point when he actually reaches his level 3. And as we all know, MOJO doesn't really have exactly the kind of like hardest hitting level 3, especially if he has no fury buffs active. So even if I have to eat a level 3, I would most certainly survive that as well. So Quake seemed like pretty much a perfect answer here, and as you can see, he's already at like 37%. 40 seconds in the fight, I'm fully healthy, not much to worry about. He gets that 1 power gain there, but as I said, until he gets level 3, he's not gonna throw any special attacks anyways. Therefore I'm perfectly comfortable chilling here, just waiting for him to die. And yeah, here we can see next set of concussion, he's like 1%, and down he goes. So very simple fight, which otherwise would be extremely tricky, I feel, because MOJO is obviously flow target, and for Loki are using flow global node. Now we're going to be going up against the Dr. Evil himself, Dreaming, and he's Sinister. Now this fight, I do this fight a lot, but this time I'm actually gonna mess up a bit, and it's gonna end up being a lot sketchier than it normally is, because typically I don't really have too much problem with this fight, but I don't know, I'm gonna end up eating multiple combos here. Luckily Warlock's quite tanky, he has that class advantage as well, but the plan here is simple, basically stick to parry, couple of hits, and then drop my level 3 to kind of like regain the power. Now Mr. Sinister is a flow target, but this is not a stun immune node, so I can get rid of those flow power gains just by parrying, so it's not too bad overall. But as you can see here, I'm not doing too great of a job. Brute Force is kicking in as well. I really need to land a hit, and now I knew at that point that he's gonna counter punch me because he was still unstoppable, but I just wanted to get rid of that Brute Force. And now I can drop my level 3, thus regain some health via adrenaline mechanic and Warlock's level 3 heal as well. Here we can see that we go from 61 to 65%. It's not a major amount of healing, but still, you know, every bit helps. Now here, obviously because of concussion, I messed up again, and this certainly is far from an amazing fight. And also he's still at 54%, so we're not exactly on the home stretch as well. And then I realized that the thing that I had changed is I dropped less heavy attacks than I normally do in this fight, and those that bleed damage definitely is kind of like a big factor. And so here I went for another big heavy attack, managed to do it just in time. Now I'm at 41%, he's at 19%. Infections back up, so whenever he heals, I can heal block that and power drain him. And here slowly but surely we're kind of regaining control of the fight, I would say, but I'm getting cornered and I hit another combo. Luckily, that Sinister certainly is pillow hands, and now I'm just gonna drop a level 3 and finish the fight. I have done this fight like 5 times, I think, this Alliance War season. This is by far the worst showing, but hey, we still managed to get through this fight without dying, so all is well that ends well, I suppose. Now it's next morning and I'm going to be up against Human Torch on path 5. So basically there's nothing too much to this Human Torch aside the fact that he is going to go unstoppable at certain points in the fight if concussion is not going to be active at him. That's right, Quake can shut down this unstoppability as well. And yeah, so basically I just need to Quake this guy down. I will use Quake for 1 or 2 more fights later on in mini boss, I think. So there's gonna be some other interesting fights involved in the meanwhile. So here we can see that Human Torch is going down slowly but surely, and this war I'm also not really using the largest boost, not because it obviously wasn't competitive war, but more so that I was somewhat confident in the matchups that I was taking. But either way, just a quick spoiler towards the end, we ended up losing this war, which was a very tight war up until the very end, and then basically, yeah, we realized that we can't win and we amassed some more extra deaths than we should have. But definitely great job to Fawn Loki. Hopefully they finish in top 3. I think they are very close to being top 3, so that is good on them. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed today's war because it was super exciting with many different interesting placements and matchups, and yeah, I generally liked it a lot. So now Silver Surfer on special 2 and power focus special 2, I think, and special 2 bias and buff toggle unblockable. Now the thing with Silver Surfer is he's really hard to Quake if you cannot stun him, because his double medium at the end is pretty much impossible, or at the very least extremely hard to fully kind of like dex in that single motion. So I was kind of worried bringing in Quake here because of that and the fact that he may or may not be unblockable at some of those points when I try to parry him. And so I decided to bring in Magic, because Magic should have extremely good matchup here, and everything was going perfectly up until this point, obviously, where I got parried because he was phasing still, I guess, but Limbo mitigated a lot of the damage. But here we can see there's going to be another very interesting point in the fight, I think. Here I'm going to try and intercept him dashing in at me with a level 1, but he cheekily dropped that heavy attack and he phased through my level 1. That was such a WTF moment. I was like, what? But again, luckily Magic Limbo saved me. So this was a bit of a clumsy fight, and all in all, Magic had it all under control, but that Silver Surfer definitely annoyed the hell out of me with that heavy attack. I had to rewatch this video to kind of like exactly understand what happened, but basically, yeah, he countered my special 1 with his heavy attack phasing, and that's such a cool way to do it. And next fight we are up against this Symbiote Supreme. Now he once again is a control character, so I do have to be careful of the Flow Global node. Additionally to that, he has limited immunity for the first 25 seconds of the fight. So the solution for this problem, I figured out, I'm just going to strike his block, because that will let me maintain a solid position on the screen, plus I will not be triggering the flow. And that worked out pretty much perfectly. So I basically just waited out that limited immunity, and from that point forward, as soon as it wore off, I was pretty much ready to drop my level 2 and power lock him. And as soon as I did that, obviously the fight's under control. Now here is the second problem in the fight, that I accidentally pushed myself to a level 3 when I didn't intend to. So I kind of quickly had to parry stun him, make sure that I disable that Flow's power gain. At the same time, I need to keep an eye on that unblockable debuff. And yeah, so I made the fight a little bit more sketchy than it should have been just by dropping that level 3. But all in all, I think we did a good recovery with that immediately. Parry stun him afterwards, and then got back to my level 2 whilst being wary of his unblockable buff, so that went quite fine. Now next fight is against Pandaman Pete. This is the recovery mini boss, and this is a very good placement because he is hard to deal with. But when I was going in this fight, we already had lost the war, so I knew I'm going to time out, because this was a rank 3 6-star with like recovery, thus an enhanced healing node. And yeah, I knew that I'm going to time out because I wasn't boosted properly. I only had like a medium 20% attack boost on, and obviously I could have placed Suicide Masteries as well. This fight was done more for the testing purposes, just to make sure that this particular fight and placement can be quaked in like a war where obviously we can still win. And in that case, I would have simply used Suicide Masteries, and I would have used some larger boosts as well, and then I wouldn't have had to worry about timeout. Now, I will make some sketchy mistakes in this fight because obviously he's fully unblockable, and sometimes I will somehow end up going for a parry or just miss a wage. So I'm actually going to be quite low on my health by the end of it. But again, I didn't particularly care about dying at this point, just clearing this fight mainly because I knew that I'm going to time out and we had already lost the war, and I just didn't want to place like the big boosts on and reboost and like waste those boosts basically for a lost war. But at the same time, here you can definitely see that he's going down relatively quickly. At this point, I think my hand started to get tired because I get slapped here and there. And yeah, so this is a rank 3 Weapon X that is certainly a rare champion these days and a stacked champion these days, and because we're consistently dealing damage to him, obviously he's pretty much spending entire fight unblockable and with those berserk charges or whatever else he has going on for him. But here we can see that he can be quaked. You just need to make sure that you have big boosts active, and ideally probably Suicide Masteries as well, and then you shouldn't have too much trouble with the guy. But yeah, we're gonna run out a bit short. He's at like 33% here. We have half a minute left. I think he's gonna be remaining on like 18% or so by the time I time out, and then I'm just gonna go back in and finish off the fight in a moment. But yeah, sucks to time out, but again, it was kind of like expected and predicted. I'm happy that I didn't die because I could have died very easily here at this point as well. And yeah, we can see last 4 seconds. I have 8% health remaining. He's at 16% and time out. So I'm gonna add in a couple of potions to my Quake and quickly finish off the fight. And that's actually gonna be super interesting as well, because next fight is going to be really cool with Quake, and that's going to be debuff immune vision. We're going to get to that fight in a second as soon as I finish off this one. So he's at 16%. I added in a couple of health pots to my Quake, and yeah, we can see that he's going to go down very quickly from this point. He does have a regen buff, but it isn't really regening all that much for him. I just dropped a heavy attack to kind of like deal a bit of extra damage. Why not? He goes unblockable at this point, but again, he's only at 6% here, and my aftershocks kick in. He's at 1%, and the fight is over. Now, as mentioned, the next fight is going to be really interesting because people typically think you can't Quake a Vision because obviously he gains power and then he can drop that. But Concussion actually disables Vision's power burn. And if you are able to concuss Vision when he's throwing his level 1 or 2, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. But in this case, Vision is debuff immune, and so the concussion cannot disable the power burn, right? But the beautiful thing is that if you're quaking properly, you have no power to be burned outside of the small amount of power that level 1 gives you. So basically this strategy here was just eat all of the special attacks. Every special attack deals like 2 or 3% damage to my health because I hardly have any power to burn. And yeah, that's a legit entire tactic for this fight. It's a very cheeky placement for sure because Vision's control character, he's completely debuff immune and all that good stuff. But here we can see that if I have no power to be burned, I don't need to be afraid to eat a level 1. And in that case, why can't I Quake the guy, right? I don't have to deal with flow. I don't really worry about him getting to level 3 either because I'm consistently leaving myself open, so he pretty much throws those special attacks at the earliest convenience. And it's kind of like very sketchy but very funny fight where It doesn't look good for you because you're eating all of the special attacks, but at the same time, it's just quite fun because you're just quaking away like normal and fully expecting to eat that level 1. As you can see here, I think I have eaten 5 level 1 special attacks and I have lost 9% of my health. And he's already at like 36% at this point. So yeah, very interesting fight. It definitely made me chuckle myself once I figured that I probably should be able to do it with Quake. And yeah, certainly enjoyable. Now that level 2 obviously gives me more power, so he had a bit more power to burn, so that dealt like 5% damage, but still not worried, and the fight's nearly over. The minute left on a timer, so no worries about timing out at all either. And yeah, here you can see his health whittle away. He drops another level 1, but it does very little good to him. And yeah, so I don't know, this fight definitely kind of like put a smile on my face and probably was the main reason why I actually wanted to upload this war video, because it's just super fun. And now after this fight, I had to deal with the MOJO boss as well, because I kind of have been, I don't know, nominated or declared as a MOJO boss killer, and that's against NY718. Now, Enzo is obviously another YouTuber you guys probably have seen around on YouTube scene. He's a super cool guy, and he streams pretty much daily. Now, this was a very pathetic start, because I hit a full combo. I do not know what happened there. I thought I had my finger on block, but luckily, again, Magic's Limbo saved me, so I'm a bit clumsy in this fight, but that's why Magic is such an awesome champion, because she can make up for a lot of my mistakes with her Limbo mechanic. And yeah, all is well that ends well, I suppose. So this fight, I will make some mistakes here and there, but as mentioned before, the Magic's Limbo is going to save me. At this point, when he's in his corner, I have plenty health, I have enough power, all that good stuff is happening. I didn't even use full boost for this fight either. I only had like 10% attack boost and 20% champion boost, and that's pretty much it, and obviously the mystic boost and stuff. So yeah, you don't even need to fully boost up for MOJO bosses, as well, as it turns out, which is cool. Again, I hate heavy attack like a klutz, but hey, Limbo. Either way, as mentioned before, we did end up losing this war. It was super fun, super close, competitive war, so good job to 4Loki guys. Very well deserved win. They fought tremendously well, and yeah, hopefully we can rematch at some point soon. And that will kind of like be more or less for this video. I will finish that MOJO off without too much trouble in just a moment. So if you enjoyed today's war video, then certainly hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all of the buttons. Do not forget to share with your alliance mates if you particularly enjoyed some of the fights. But either way, that's it for today, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya.